We're ready to begin this afternoon, and let me welcome each and every one here. This afternoon, this evening, we are here to pay honor, tribute, and celebrate the wonderful life of Mr. James Jimmy Durbin. He's known to most as a public servant. My association with him has been that, and as mayor, I'll never forget, he was one with great vision, great vision. As a church, we had vision, and Mr. Durbin always took his vision and entwined our vision with his vision. And our accomplishments of our vision was because of him. And when his deeds are counted, I can say as pastor of this church, some of the accomplishments of this church will be counted as fruits of his love. Let me say to this family, thank you so much for allowing him and you to be a part of my father's ministry, my ministry, the ministry of this church. We're blessed and enriched because of that. Thank you so much. Our relationship with him, yes, he frequented our congregation with his presence. We was always thankful, delighted of that. But our relationship with him was more than that. It was lunches, it was breakfast, it was heart-to-heart talks. And through it all, we was knitted together. Spirits was knitted together. Our hearts were knitted together. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. So today we celebrate with you. And as heirs and beneficiaries of his life, we say thank you so much for his life and sharing it with us. So today we lift up our heads and we say thank you for the life of Jimmy Durbin. We were blessed and we're rich. Thank you, family.
Jimmy Durbin was an LPCC board member from 1996 to 2015. He served as president of the board from 2000 to 2015. During his presidency, chorale performed in Carnegie Hall and went on 3 European choir tours, one of which included singing at the Vatican. He created our slogan, LPCC, inspiring harmony in the community since 1991. We still use it. When Regina Walker, my mother, formed the Denham Springs Boys Choir in 1960, Jimmy made the choir. Not everybody did. He will forever be one of Miss Regina's boys. We are the choir we are today because Jimmy Durbin shared his talent, his intellect, his leadership, and his vision with us. For you, Jimmy.
Angels sing. Soon our happy hearts will quiver with a melody of peace. Yes, we'll gather by the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints by the river that flows by the throne of God. That flows by the throne of God.
Life reminds us. Life will teach us a lesson, and all too often we quickly forget. So life reminds us. And we forget again, and life reminds us again, and so on. One of the greatest lessons that life teaches us, and then reminds us from time to time when we forget, is the importance of being appreciative and the importance of expressing that appreciation. Life teaches us and reminds us that we can never say thank you too often or too early, but sometimes it's too late. Jimmy married my mother, Maurice, 46 years ago when I was 13. So I guess technically that made Jimmy my stepfather and me his stepson. But those were words we never used. So for those of you I have not met, I'm Brad Rohr. I'm Jimmy's son. He was my dad. For 46 years, Jimmy took care of my mother as her husband, her life partner, and all that a good husband and partner should be. So thank you, Jimmy, for taking care of my mom. For 46 years, Jimmy took care of my sister, Berkeley, and me. As our dad, and all that a good dad should be. Thank you, Jimmy, for taking care of Berkeley and me. Jimmy taught me the meaning of generosity. I don't mean generosity with material things, although he was very generous with material things. I mean generosity with our scarcest resource, our time. Jimmy was never too busy to answer my phone call, which was usually about something I needed or wanted from him. Jimmy was never too tired to lend a hand, moving furniture, building a fence, making his Thanksgiving dressing, whatever we wanted. Thank you, Jimmy, for your generosity. Jimmy taught me the value of serenity, the value of not reacting in anger. When I was much younger, I was with Jimmy, and someone began to speak harshly and critically to him. Jimmy did not react. I was so mad. I fussed at Jimmy later. I said, "Why didn't you do something?" And Jimmy looked at me and said, "You want me to whip him?" I said, heck yeah. Jimmy was a big guy. But a short time later, Jimmy and this person became friends. And they went on to help each other considerably and do great things for this community. Things that might not have happened had Jimmy reacted out of anger. Thank you, Jimmy, for teaching me the value of serenity and the value of not reacting out of anger. I'm still working on that. For the last many years, our family has gotten together every weekend for dinner, a crawfish boil, a football game, to celebrate any and every occasion. When Jimmy would walk in, without fail, he would hug me and he'd tell me, I love you. And when Jimmy would leave, without fail, he'd hug me again and he'd tell me, I love you. Thank you, Jimmy, for loving me. I think Jimmy knew how much I loved him. And I think Jimmy knew how much I appreciated him. I sure hope so. I just wish I would have told him thank you sooner.
Good evening. I come to know, I call him Mayor Durbin, through my father, which was Arthur Perkins Sr. And so through him, I got a good idea of working with the mayor at that time. I also knew the mayor through my mom, but my mother talked a lot. And so I kind of go with, when it came to politics, what my father would tell me. But he worked with Mayor Durbin for over 30 years, city council and the mayor's office. And they formed quite a partnership. Matter of fact, the partnership transcends politics. They actually became friends, traveled together, talked a lot. And so when the trips were over, I would always talk with my father as to what took place on the trip, what was decided, and et cetera. They actually enjoyed each other's company. They depended on one another, because they knew each one would do what was best for the city. When I think about them, they embodied what I call servanthood. They were not looking to be served, but to serve others. They was willing to lay aside their personal agenda to be able to serve others. But they had a unique quality that I even am impressed with today. They had the ability to listen. They would listen to each other as well as their constituents. I remember talking to Mayor Durbin, and he would make you feel like he heard and understood every word you said. When you left with the impression he really heard me. I think about a scripture, James 1:17, that says, every good and perfect gift is from above. I know what that scripture means, but I think of Jimmy Durbin as a gift that we were blessed with. His family was blessed to have him. The city was blessed to have him. My dad certainly was blessed to have him as a friend. I will close with this statement. It's a poem. I shall pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do, any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer it nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Thank you.
Bless you, Bishop Phillips, for blessing us. And Brad, where are you? Brad, what a gift you have at articulating your heart. Thank you for sharing that gift with us. You know, as we gather to grieve the loss of Jimmy, and we gather to celebrate the amazing life of Jimmy, a scripture immediately comes to my mind. And it's 1 John 4. God is love. And those who live in love, they live in God. And God lives in them. I love that scripture. In those first 3 words, the definition of who God is. God is love, not just a feeling, not just doing loving actions. It is the essence of God's being. It is God's very nature. And the promise that those who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. Jimmy Durbin definitely lived in love. You know, if you knew Jimmy well, you knew that he absolutely adored his wife, Maurice. And one of my favorite stories that I've heard recently about Jimmy was told to me by a dear friend of his, Julie Norris. Is Julie here? I don't know if she's here. Yeah? So Julie and Jimmy were ending a day of working together. And she said, all of a sudden, I looked at Jimmy, and he looked happier than I've ever seen him. And I was thinking, my goodness, you know, what is making Jimmy so happy? And Jimmy said, Julie, guess what I'm doing tonight? What are you doing, Jimmy? I'm trapping cats with Maurice. I just love it. Now, you know Jimmy. Surely trapping cats is not on the top of Jimmy's list. I feel certain that that's true. But helping his Maurice, absolutely, was on the top of his list. Jimmy lived in love. God is love. Those who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. I just want you to know I'm so happy that's not my phone. It's so okay, I promise. So in the year 2000, I don't know if you know this about Jimmy or not, but Jimmy helped to start an interdenominational church here in Denham Springs, and it is named Luke 10:27, which of course, the name itself is love. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. And Jimmy served as the chair of trustees at Luke 10:27 for many years. And on one particular occasion, Jimmy was attending a leadership event with us. Now, at that time, Jimmy was not only serving as the chair of trustees, but he was also serving as the mayor. And we had a question that we wanted to ask him. Now, this question was not original by us. It was a question posed by the futurist and author Joel Barker. You may have heard of him. And a quote of Joel Barker's is that vision without action is, give me 1 second, is merely a dream. But action without vision is just wasting time. Vision with action can change the world. And Jimmy Durbin was definitely a vision with action can change the world kind of guy. So we asked him this question posed by Joel Barker. And this is the question. What today, Jimmy, is impossible to do in the city of Denham Springs? But if it was possible, it would dramatically change our city for the better. So Jimmy responsibly said, let me think about it. Let me pray about it. And I'll get back with you in a week. A week passed, and Jimmy said, let me tell you, what today is impossible to do in the city of Denham Springs. But if we could do it, it would dramatically change our city for the better, eliminate racism. Jimmy was raised in Denham Springs, and he was painfully aware of our roots of racism. And everything in him and Maurice and their beautiful family fought with love to eliminate its roots in our city. And you're so right, Bishop Phillips. I don't know that a better listener existed. He wanted to hear the stories. It's that passion and that vision that also helped to birth a nonprofit organization called Kindness Keepers here in Denham Springs. Excuse me. Now, Kindness Keepers is a nonprofit organization that serves Livingston Parish, and it serves the underserved children in the area of the arts and education. Jimmy served as the president of that board for many years. What a gift we have been given with this man who knew how to live in love. So you know what? I think that Jimmy has left us with a challenge. And that challenge is that we too live in love. And in case we're wondering what that might look like, Paul helps us out. Jimmy knew it because Jimmy lived it. Love is patient. Love is kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. And it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not, Brad, I love this, easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices in the truth. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. And it always perseveres. Faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. So God who is love, thank you for Jimmy Durbin in our lives, for one who knew how to live in love. And God, please help us. Give us the courage, give us the wisdom, and give us the grace to do exactly the same thing. So be it.
Soon we'll reach the shining river. Soon
Bless you, angels. You blessed us. This service is over, but we get to leave, beginning a new day, remembering Jimmy by living in love with one another. Go in peace.